All right, this is lesson 5.1. So we're in our fifth chapter. We're starting a new chapter. It's going to be about integers, about graphing on a coordinate plane. Now, we'll talk about the coordinate plane later. Let's just talk about integers. This is really important. And first of all, what is an integer? Here it is. An integer is positive whole numbers. Okay, so a whole number, not a fraction, not a decimal, but a whole number like 1, 2, 3, 80, 40, 1,000,000. Okay, positive whole numbers. And a positive number means that it's something zero greater than zero, like 1, 8, 12. So positive whole numbers. If you have a positive whole number, you have an integer. If you have their opposites, you have an integer. So say I have 5. 5 is a positive number. The opposite of that would be -5. Okay? So if I have 5, the opposite of not having 5, the opposite is not having 5, giving 5. So here, I get $5. The opposite would be to give $5. So here I'm getting it, here I'm losing it. Here I'm adding it, here I'm subtracting it. So the opposite of a number is the negative or positive. I could say -5. What's the opposite of -5? The opposite of giving or subtracting 5 would be add 5. Okay? So that's the opposites. Okay. So an integer is positive whole numbers, all of their opposites, and 0. Okay, so if I say what's an integer, you should be able to clearly say, oh, it's all the whole numbers, it's their opposites, and it's 0. Another way to say this is it's positive whole numbers, negative whole numbers, and 0. All the positive numbers, all the negative numbers, and 0 that are whole are integers. Okay? Now, in this lesson, I want to do two things. I want to be able to, number one, use integers, which we just talked about, integers, to represent data, some real life data, some things that happen in real life. We have two examples here. Okay, so let's represent this data using integers. I have a gain of 2 yards. A gain means something positive, mean I'm getting something. It's a good thing. A gain of 2 yards. So the way I would say that is +2. Okay. Now, how does this connect with 0? How does it relate to 0? Okay. 0 is let's see, not a gain or a loss. Okay? So 0 equals not a gain or loss, right at 0. So if I have a gain of 2 yards, I'm going the positive side. I'm gaining 2 yards. So then I have a +2. All right, let's look at this. 10 degrees below 0. 10 degrees below 0, -10. -10. I've used an integer, which can be negatives, an integer to describe 10 degrees below 0. How does this relate with 0? Well, 0 is not above or below. Okay? So 0, you're talking about 0 here. You're not talking about above, which would be your positives, or below, which is your negatives. It's just 0. So this, when you say 10 below 0, you're going 10 below this 0, and you get -10. Okay? Some of this might seem pretty simple, but it's good to understand what how you're using integers to represent this data and to get it in your mind. A gain of 2 yards +2. 10 degrees below 0, negative 10. If I save $75, that's going to be a positive or a plus 75. If I spend $18, that's a negative 18 I'm getting rid of. Okay? So lots of ways to use integers to represent data. Now, let's go over here. The other thing I want to do in this chapter is graphing, to be able to put stuff on a number line. So you have, these are integers, negative 3, 2, negative 4, 0. I have a graph going up and down here, and I have one going side to side. Doesn't matter if it goes up or side. The key is, when you number it, when you do it like this, I think of this as like a thermometer. I find my 0. Everything going this way is negative, like below 0, and this way is above 0. Okay? Then when I'm doing this one, it's like reading a book. If I start here, I've read 0 pages. If I go this way, which is the way you read, I'm reading pages. If I go this way, I'm taking away. Okay? So negatives are always this way. Negatives are always this way. Whoops. Positives are this way, and positives are that way. Okay, so you might get some number lines where it doesn't have any numbers on it, but it gives you this. You get to pick what you want to put where. So I'm going to do, I know negative 4 is my biggest one. I'm going to put negative 4 here at the bottom, and now I'm going to go up. I'm getting greater, so this is negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, all the way to 0. Okay? So if this is my 0, and I'm going below, kind of like over here when I talked about 10 below 0, I start at 0 and I go below this way. So just a little bit is 1 below, a little bit more is 2 below, 3 below, 4 below. If I go up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Now, I want to graph these. So, negative 3, here's 0, I go down to here, there's that one. Okay? 2, I start at 0. It's going up. Right there. Negative 4, start here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then 0 and 0. So I put these 4 points on this graph. And you can see how these numbers relate with 0. There's only one number that's a positive number. This 2. Everything else, these 2 are negative. Okay? This one's only 2 away from 0. This one is 1, 2, 3 away from 0. And this one is 4 away from 0. Okay? I'm kind of moving into absolute value. Kind of just remember that word, absolute value. We'll talk about that one in our next lesson. But right now, you're just working on graphing integers. So you got your group of integers, and you put them on the graph. Okay? Let's do one that's this way. All right. I have negative 9. I don't know if my graph's going to be... Well, you know what? What I can do is, it doesn't have to be exactly... It doesn't have to be by 1. I just have to have these exactly the same. I could go by 2s. Okay? So what I'm going to do, negative 9, I'm going to put 0 right there. Okay? So if I'm going this way, I'm getting positive. I'm going to go by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, we'll just go to 10. I'm going this way. Negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10. Okay? So every section here is 2 more or 2 less, but it's always 2. Okay? So now I'm going to look at this set of data, 8, negative 6, negative 9, and 5. Okay? I can make this into kind of a real life situation. This could be my money situation. Okay? So my money situation for 4 weeks. On week 1, I had a positive 8. That means I kept 8, or I saved 8, or I got 8. Some kind of positive thing about 8. The next week, I spent 6, negative 6. Next week, I spent 9. And then the next week, I got 5. Okay, so it could, instead of just having these as just numbers, you could always put a real life example here. So I'm going to start with 8. I know it's positive, so I'm going this way. 2, 4, 6, 8. That goes right here. Okay. Negative 6, I'm going down this way because it's negative. And here's negative 6 right here. Negative 9. I have negative 8 and negative 10. I know it's going to be right in the middle there. Negative 9. And then 5. 2, 4, 6. Between 4 and 6. Right here. There we go. I graphed this data on this line. By being able to graph it on a number line, like I said, absolute value, it will help you when you need to decide what is a number's absolute value. But before you can think about absolute value, you have to be able to graph integers. Okay? Seems kind of basic, but just wait. If you do this and do it correctly, when it comes time to saying, okay, what's the absolute value of a number, you'll be able to easily say, oh yeah, the absolute value of this is this. But you got to be able to graph it. Okay? Go ahead and watch the guided practice and then do some independent practice and extra practice and have fun with integers.